It was true. This entire offseason, we were promised by NBA analysts, by insiders about the development of Gradey Dick, putting on that muscle, putting in the work to improve his game, and now we've seen it with our own two eyes in the first few games of preseason, and Darko Rajaković has spoken out about the development of Gradey Dick and how he's been performing in practices as well as on this team and what his expectations are moving forward. And also drop some nuggets on Ochai Agbaji. So we'll dive into that as well as Scottie Barnes getting ranked once again by the ESPN's top 100 list. So lots of stuff to sink our teeth into in this video. But again, before we dive into any of that, if you guys are part of the 67% that haven't hit the subscribe button just yet, and you want to stay up to date with everything that's going on with the Toronto Raptors team, especially after the madness, the chaos that we got to witness yesterday, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing that's going on with this Toronto Raptors team. Because frankly, things are getting wild right now, and I'm pretty excited about this roster, about this group. But let's dive into the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're talking about is Gradey Dick and his development, because Darko Rajaković had some interesting comments outside of the game that we witnessed yesterday, and he came out and said that I believe Gradey Dick is much more than a spot-up shooter. So everything that's coming off of cuts, drives, slip cuts, it needs to be developed, and it's going to come. So basically, we saw it last night. Gradey Dick, he's a guy that can score all over the basket, right? He can score in all these different places. He can score in different areas on the court, and frankly, this is coming as a surprise, right, from where he was even just this time last year, because, again, we saw him make drives, make these takes, over the stretch of, especially early last season. He'd be getting bumped off his spot. He wouldn't be able to move in his place. And even the dribble pull, he would hit him on some nights and miss him on the others. But frankly, the thing about Gradey Dick that we've just seen in preseason and what this extra weight, what this extra muscle has allowed him to do is when he makes those drives, he's not losing his balance. He's not getting pushed off his weight. He's able to take some hits and finish over the rim. I mean, we can take a look at some of the stuff that he's been doing out here in these games, right? In preseason, we got the highlights to kind of show for, right? In these transition, Tatum underneath the rim, and he's just confident finishing at the basket, doing these different things, and he is hitting off the dribble. He is hitting off the dribble with those pull-up jump shots, and that's exactly what you want to see from a Gradey Dick taking that next level of development, because again, there's so many of these shooters, and I broke this down on last night's postgame, that come into the league and they can't get their own looks. Once they become an elite enough shooter, the defense focuses on them, and then essentially they're non-factors. Matt Thomas is the greatest example of this, because couldn't make back cuts, couldn't, just get himself open to let it fly with that elite stroke. But Gradey Dick, with his ability to take contact right now and finish around the basket, and then also knock down shots off the dribble, knock shots off balance in different areas, off different sort of screens, that's a huge positive there. And again, last season, stats steadily increased over the course of the year. Average 8.5 points per game, 2 rebounds, 1.1 assists, and shot 36% from the three-point line, 46% on corner threes. But now, I wouldn't be shocked if we see a massive statistical increase for Gradey Dick with the elevated role, because, again, I'd be shocked if he's not a lock to be a starter for this Raptors team. Again, we've had discussions about Chris Boucher, we've had discussions about Bruce Brown, but Gradey Dick has certainly been the most, eye-popping, intriguing, and most beneficial player for the Toronto Raptors' future in regards to earning that starting lineup spot, and frankly, he is looking very, very good. But that wasn't the only player that kind of impressed, that did well out there in last night's preseason game. Obviously, Scottie Barnes got all the praise, all the recognition, all that type of stuff. But Darko Rajaković wanted to highlight a guy that has had frustrated a lot of Raptors fans. That's Ochai Agbaji, as shooting is not a priority for me right now. For me, priorities, and this is what he's talking about in regards to his expectations for Ochai Agbaji. For me, priorities are what he's doing defensively and how he's affected the game in a big, big way tonight. He was also able to get in transition and score in transition. He had a baseline backdoor cut he got for a layup. He can do so many other things that can affect the game, and then shooting. I believe the shooting is going to come for him as well, but I want him to really play with that type of force, with that type of feel, and comfortable on the court, and then everything is going to come. And I like this approach from Darko Rajaković, because again, as fans, we're going to overreact. We're going to come back and forth. Ochai Agbaji not shooting the greatest percentages from the three-point line, all that type of stuff. And that's fine. As fans, we should have the ability to react and do different things to each of these games. But Darko understands the defensive impact that he's able to provide. And even though, we did see some tough shots being hit by Jaylen Brown, by Jason Tatum in yesterday's game, from the eye test, we definitely saw some really effective on-ball coverage from Ochai Agbaji when he switched onto those, all NBA, top tier, top caliber wing players out there in the league. So that's what you love to see. And then again, the shooting is going to be up and down. It's going to be a mess. He's decent enough to let it fly, but is not consistent enough to really be an elite, a very comfortable three-point shooter for everyone to get excited about. But Ochai Agbaji should be able to finish around the basket. He doesn't have a horrific touch, but he just ends up going in a little bit soft, it almost feels like at times, finishing around the basket if he's not dunking it. But last night, we saw a confident Ochai Agbaji finishing around the basket. He's able to drive in, use his athleticism, use his solid frame, and get to the bucket, and had some really, really nice takes, which is something you love to see. For a guy with that type of athlete, with that type of frame, right, he should be able to sort of score around the basket and do those types of things out there. So if he can be effective scoring, as a cutter, as a rim finisher, all those types of things, then the impact that he provides on the defensive end will keep him on the court, and then he's able to score in different areas, so the inconsistency in regards to his shooting, that's really gonna not have as serious an effect. So again, it's going to be an up and down roller coaster every year. We'll be excited some games, we'll be disappointed some games, and that's just how it goes. But frankly, I'm happy with this approach Darko Rajaković is taking to Ochai Agbaji, but again, we'll see how everything shakes out in regards to development in terms of things on that front. But that's not the only thing we're diving into, as basically Scottie Barnes was ranked in one of those classic ESPN lists, the lists that are usually rage bait to come out and get people fired up. And frankly, I don't think this one was too bad. Scottie Barnes was ranked at 35 overall, and again, personally, I'd rank him a little bit higher. And they said in his third season, Barnes went from an intriguing young player to an all-star, averaging career highs in points, all that stuff, as we know. The only player to average 19, 8, and 6 last season in one block, and it was him and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Toronto has Barnes being the face of the next its next contending team, and they gave him a max contract this summer, so he has high expectations, and they're hoping he'll become an All-NBA player. We know all this from Scottie Barnes. We've watched him play. We've followed the entire storylines, and him at 35. Again, especially with how cold he was at the end of last season, if it was just Scottie Barnes, for the first 3 months, I think 35 is low and extremely disrespectful, but dealt with some injuries, had a cold sort of second half of the season, or at least after Pascal OG got traded. Again, from what we saw last night, very encouraged about Scottie Barnes' ability to make reads, to step up into that level of being the top dog for the Toronto Raptors, but not hating this list. The only thing that I think is a bit egregiously bad is that Rudy Gobert is ranked a position ahead of him. Yes, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they made the conference finals last year. They had a good run, and Rudy Gobert is an elite defensive player. But I don't think there's any NBA GM. I don't think there's any person that watches basketball at a decent level that's going to be picking Rudy Gobert over Scottie Barnes this season. Obviously not for the future, contract-wise, that factored in. You'd have to be completely just off your rocker to think Rudy Gobert is more valuable than Scottie Barnes, but even for this season, I think that's a bold take, even though Rudy Gobert is probably underrated by a lot of people. And, the other one I thought was interesting is Chet Holmgren, who, again, the Thunder were good last season. Chet is good, plays defense, a center, undervalued skill set, all that type of stuff. I still pick Scottie Barnes over these types of guys. Even Jamal Murray was here. I don't know if I have him in the list, but no, Jamal Murray is also ranked over Scottie Barnes. I'd put Scottie Barnes over all of them, just objectively, even with all the things factored into last season, how it wasn't the greatest of finishing offs for Scottie Barnes to close off last year. But I don't know. I'm obviously clearly biased, but very encouraged, and I think next season we're going to see Scottie Barnes really take that leap into the upper echelon of this top 100 list. But not really mad about it right now. I don't think it was crazy disrespectful or anything like that. They got Scottie Barnes over some All-NBA guys, so, that's all positives there. But let me know what you guys think about all this Toronto Raptors news. Do you guys have best think as far? Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.